Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode on block building palettes with me, Nisi. How's everyone doing today? I am super excited because today's block of the day is Pale Oak, which won the poll done on my community page not too long ago. So, well, as promised, I have some Pale Oak color palettes now. These are survival and beginner friendly, so what that means is all the blocks are fairly cheap to get in survival, or at least not too difficult, and beginner friendly means we're using a lot of block sets, so things that have like slabs, stairs, fences, walls, all that sort of stuff, just so you can play around with them a little bit easier, because I know full blocks can be quite tricky, especially when it comes to detailing and things. So let's get started with this color palette number 1, which is a very lovely little mangrove, brick, granite, Tuff, Pale Oak combination. And this is very simple and easy to work with, to be honest, because every single block in here has got a slab or a stair and stuff like that, and there's also a lot of different texturing options. You can mix the bricks and the granite for this lovely kind of texture. You can obviously texture your Tuff. You can even throw in some mossy cobble if you wish. And I think it's just a very simple, solid color palette. We basically just have a grayscale color palette with the Tuff and the Pale Oak, and then we throw red on it, so it's all one simple color, but it really works. It's simple, easy to get started with, very survival friendly. And I probably should mention this is the new update with the shelves, so you know I had to go all out with shelves. In fact, there's shelves within shelves here. But yeah, you can do a little bit more extra detailing with shelves, and of course, because we're using Pale Oak, that already gives us one shelf to work with, but the more wood types you throw in, the more shelves you get. So yeah, I think this color palette make a really neat starter base, or just any sort of build. You could probably swap this color palette around as well, so you have your mangrove as the trim there around the top, and then your walls made of Pale Oak. That would also look really pretty. And overall, I'm just a big fan of this one. And we're continuing with a fairly simple color palette over here with this mud brick, copper, Pale Oak, diorite, dark oak, and mud combination. Now the mud's a bit of an extra. You probably don't even need the diorite. Realistically, this color palette can be done with just these 3 blocks. So let's take a look at it. Well, we have the really light color with our Pale Oak and a little bit of diorite to texture it. Then we have the really dark color here with the dark oak. You can use as a trim. You get the shelves. It's all great. And then for a hint of color, we have the copper, which I think it just works really well. It's sort of a nice in between values, so it's not as bright as the Pale Oak and it's not as dark as the dark oak. And it kind of just works together. It pops out, but it doesn't feel like it's too much. You get access to a trial chamber early. This is super cheap in survival as well. And if not, well, copper is plenty. You're just gonna have to age it yourself. Alright, continuing with the copper theme, we have color palette number 3, which is this kind of blue orangey kind of color palette, which resembles the natural oxidation of the copper. But instead of going for the oxidized copper, we went for a slightly darker color here with the warped wood, which gives us access to the shelves, which is super nice. So again, very similar kind of concept. We have the pale neutral white oak, which just goes with everything. Then we have some colors here, and then the Pale Oak, because of how much of a blank slate it is, it really lets you play around with these colors. So then the super bright contrast between the orange and the teals there just really makes the whole build pop. I am a big fan of this one. I think this one's really easy to work with. Anything you build with this color palette is probably going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty nice. And if you want to throw in some extra detailing blocks, you can add Acacia, although copper does have its own options of doors, but Acacia gives you shelves, which is nice. And you can also throw in some Prismarine for things like walls. Alright, color palette number 4, and I would say that this is the opposite of simple. We had 3 really simple ones, we've got a couple simple ones coming up, and this is the most interesting of the ones, I would say. So this color palette, well, as you can see, it's kind of different because we have bamboo, we have Deepslate. There's a lot of blocks here that just don't feel like they should work together, but in my brain they kind of do, and let me explain it. So this color palette starts off very grayscale because we have the dark from the dark Deepslate and we have the white from the Pale Oak. And continue with the grayscale, we have diorite, which kind of blends these 2 shades together with a bit more grey, and then we can also add in some stone. And then to really bring a lot of color into the grayscaleness of this color palette, we bring in the bamboo, which is really going to pop, and some moss to kind of blend it out, and I think that works really well. If we use moss, we can also blend that with our grayscale, with the mossy cobble and the mossy stone bricks, and it feels like a color palette that shouldn't work, but yet it does. And I would say this is probably the cheapest one in survival, to be honest. Like, these blocks are all super easy to get. Deepslate's everywhere. Pale Oak, well, you're going to be farming it for all of these builds. And bamboo and moss you can automate so easily, but even without a farm you can get loads of them really fast. So I would say if you needed a build, or well, I suppose if you needed a color palette, a survival world that you could get up and running really, really fast, this is the one. It's also probably the most unique looking, so if you need to build something, I don't know, on a server and you need to make it stand out, well, normally just using bamboo will make that happen because not a lot of people like using bamboo. So be different with this color palette. Okay, color palette number 5, and we have this kind of Halloween-y, gorgeous orange, purple, white and brown combination. Very, very Halloween-y, especially the orange. So when Pale came out, it came out with Resin. So these two blocks naturally just kind of look good together because of the purpleness. There's a slight hint of purple here, and I won't argue about it. In the Pale Oak, it really clashes, as opposed to really contrasts the orange. And these blocks just look so good together. I do think the orange and the purple from the Crimson also work really well, and there's really not much more to say than there's a lot of colours here. It's perfect for, well, a bright colourful house or a Halloween build of some sort. And if you wanted to play around with more details, you can add in Acacia, just sort of more your toned down version of Resin. And you can add in the purple terracotta as your sort of toned down version of the Crimson wood. So these match each other really, really well. And the dark oak there is just to give a little bit of contrast between all the light colours there. Okay, color palette number 6, and this is a really interesting one, something that I only figured out recently, which is quite embarrassing because my main Let's Play, my Forever World, is in a snowy plains, or at least a big part of my base is. But Pale Oak, you can use on roofs and stuff to create this really cool, almost like snowed over effect. So I don't know how obvious that is for you guys. This is not the best example build for it because I use so many slabs and stairs that I can't really put snow layers on top. But basically you can add in things like Pale Oak on top of existing roofs, or maybe swap out some of, say, your other roof blocks, like you had the Spruce or dark oak roof. If you add some Pale Oak on top, it really makes it look like it's snowed over, which I think is so cute. So this is a very simple color palette. We just have a whole bunch of different wood types. We've got oak, spruce, dark oak, and Pale Oak. Then we have some snow, diorite, and any kind of stone I put andesite in here, but I've also used main stone. And when using combination, I think it just makes this really cute, kind of wintry, cozy cabin to go right next to our Halloween cabin. And little pro tip, if you use Pale Oak fences and glass panes, you can kind of create something that looks like little icicles. Now, these have been debug sticked in creative to not attach to the walls. I think if you were doing this in survival, you would just simply build it slightly further away so it can't connect to full blocks. Very, very cute, and personally I think this is maybe my favourite one. Alright, I would say this is the last colour palette, but it's more of like the last proper build. So let's take a look at this one. This one is Pale Oak, Cherry, and Mangrove, as well as Dark Prismarine, which makes it a little bit more expensive in survival. This is more of a, I would say, mid to late game block, especially because you kind of need to farm Guardians and you need to farm Ink Sacs to get this. And then I have Tuff and Mossy Cobblestone here. So the way this works, I think, is pretty simple. We have the red and the dark green contrast very, very brightly here, but then we bring in this lighter red, which is pink, to kind of blend it in together with the Pale Oak. And we have this kind of lighter green coming from the mossy, more neutral tones. I'm just saying words at this point. Basically, I think these colours all work together and really pop out. I think Pale Oak works really well with cherry, and I think the rest are kind of just cherry on top. Oh, that was bad. That was bad. Okay, so I said that was the last proper build. I actually have a couple honorary mentions here for colour palettes. You see, this is like my third attempt at making this video. And I had a whole bunch of colour palettes I came up with when Pale Oak actually first came out, but I lost that world, so this is attempt number 2. I can't believe we've had Pale Oak in the game for nearly a year now, if not a whole year. So this is attempt number 2, and I didn't like the way these houses ended up looking, so I didn't use them. But as you can see, this is the same colour palette as over there, the same one, but I think it's worth mentioning how it looks on a different scale and used in different proportions, because I actually kind of preferred this one to that one, but I like them both. Here we have a very simple Pale Oak colour palette with sandstone, cherry and purple. Now, I didn't end up making a bigger version of this because honestly, I don't really see people building with this. I just don't really know what kind of builds you can make out of these. They're kind of cute. I think it would fit like in a fairy tale kind of setting, maybe some fairy houses or sort of fantasy house, but I kind of found it difficult to imagine, so I called it a skip. Also, purple is not very beginner. I suppose it's beginner builder but not beginner Minecraft. I don't know. And this one I actually really love, these terracotta color palettes. Well, the mud bricks, the dark oak, the use of bone blocks and the mushroom stems here to bring a bit of that brown into the pale oak. I think it all works really well, but I give this one a skip from the main color palettes because, well, terracotta doesn't have a block set, so it's actually really tricky to work with when it comes to like using it for roofs or other things. And here is the version of that with copper, which as you can see I kind of took on and transformed into this color palette over here. And if that was not enough, let's have a quick recap of the other pale oak color palettes I did in previous videos. So for the Deepslate video, I had this lovely Crimson Moss Deepslate pale oak color palette, which, well, I talked about in the Deepslate video, but I would say it's still a really cute one. I also have this Mangrove pale oak one, so big fan of this one. It really works for, I think, Japanese inspired builds, as you can see, as I've tried to add those sort of details to the build. And we also have another copper one, this time with Deepslate and some frog lights and, well, leaves. And it's different, it's quirky, I like this one. And the last one, this one's from the granite video. We have one that has all these red tones, like, well, the cherry and the mangrove. This time mixed with granite, copper, bricks, a little bit of quartz, and just kind of have this nice subtle gradient from red to white. Very easy to work with. Alright, well, that's it for all the color palettes in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you're going to build with any of them. I actually really like this snowy roof one, so I'll probably do a build based out of that sometime soon. I don't know, we're kind of heading into winter, so I'm sure I'm going to do some Christmas themed builds. I also really like the bamboo one, although I'm not sure where I would use it, but maybe something will come up. What's your favorite one? Do you have a favorite one, or do you think some of them could use some work? Because I did have to redo quite a few color palettes. So there's probably some which you're like, oh, this is kind of weird. You're kind of really going for it there, huh? Anyways guys, thanks so much for watching. If there's another block you want me to do, let me know in the comments and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye!